Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first Node session. And as you may know, we've organized the TouchDesigner Roundtables for a couple of years now, and in parallel, we've organized VVVVV Worldwide Meetup, and we thought it's a bit time to leave the beloved niche and start the mission to bring the creative coding, the visual programming communities together in one event, which is this one. I'm super happy to see so many familiar faces, but I'm also very happy to see new faces. And the series that we plan should roughly happen every 2 months. We are always interested in speakers who want to present. I think our specialty is a bit to talk about art and technology, and to encourage the speakers to speak to peers, like to people as if they're the same, you know, not a pitch to a client or something like that. And we also like that this event is very friendly, so everybody is very invited to talk to everybody else who they might be curious about. Don't be shy. I would like to ask David to come over quickly to show his face. So that's Hello. David Brill. So the two of us have founded the Node Institute about 5 years ago. Also, if Harshini is here, maybe, but I think Harshini will come later. Harshini is also part of our team, and also new in our team is Izzy, who you will see with the camera around. That's Harshini. Harshini. Hey. Hello, Harshini. Perfect timing. Hello, welcome. So this is Harshini, and we are the core Node team. Tonight we have 3 amazing speakers, of course, which I'll introduce later, but we also have to thank our supporters. First of all, Derivative, of course, who's been always supportive to us, and the B-Dome, who was so friendly to invite us into this wonderful dome, which is very new to Berlin. And hopefully we're going to see many amazing performances here in the future. And of course, I want to thank PlusPlusOne. Now you may ask yourself, who is PlusPlusOne?
Hi.
Yeah, and they look suspiciously like Wieland and Thomas, but that's that's just a disguise. They're taking care of the whole technical proceedings, and because they just founded their company, we thought it would be really nice if they could introduce themselves a little bit and the services they provide for the creative community.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I actually have notes this time to not wander off too far, so I'm going to read off a little bit. And I already said the first line, which is, hi everyone. So some of you might be wondering what is PlusPlusOne, which you might have read now here or also in the supporters list. And well, here we are. Stefan already spoiled a little bit. But what do? We do real-time media development and production for live event and installations. And I want to take this moment to do a quick introduction. As a company, we were funded actually this year, beginning of this year, 2025. And who is actually behind this? Because a company without a face is kind of boring. So one face you already know. It's me, Wieland Heke. I worked until funding this company under the label of Alpha Moonbase, and I'm deeply rooted in the TouchDesigner community, and also was doing a lot of the roundtables together with Stefan lately for the last 5 years, not just lately. And I'm doing programming like in Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, and all of the TouchDesigner stuff. And behind the FOH there is my partner Thomas Erike, and he's has a background in design and media technology, and he's known for operating complex multi-server setups and making last-minute fixes look easy. even on mission-critical shows. And he actually came into the whole real-time world through Notch and Pixera, so much deeper in the classical live event technologies than I am. Yeah, together we bring almost like 20 years of professional experience. If you don't count professional experience, it's even longer. Starting VJing and stuff like this, I think, is something a lot of us did in the initial years. And now we did a lot of trade fairs, installations, events, you name it. How did we meet? Actually, we met on Discord. So Mom, if you're watching, it's actually totally fine to talk to strangers on the internet and meet up with them. And yeah, we quickly bonded over our shared experiences and the love for technology, and especially real-time technology, which is also something that you see here on the screen. And we are here to solve problems. I'm going to show you some cases, and you'll probably find yourself familiar with that. For example, you're working in a creative studio and you see something cool, but you wonder, how are we going to do that? You're an event agency and you are fighting with a rental company about battle-tested solutions versus innovation. And because we come from both sides, we can negotiate here quite well. And this is why we are also citing the rental company here as one use case. Is the client wants a custom solution, but we kind of know how to do battle-tested solutions, so how are we going to set up the bespoke solutions? And even if you're a freelancer, you probably also know the feeling of getting a project request and it's just too much for one person to handle. That if you found yourself in one of these cases, then it's probably a good idea, or maybe it's a good idea to talk to us, because we are looking for partners. We believe in more than just being a client. We are believing in partnerships, long-lasting partnerships over several years, because we can just go way farther with a long-lasting partnership on equal footing, solving problems, forming synergies, and long-term relationships. What do we actually offer? Because I haven't really told, except the one thing in the beginning, pardon. 3 steps, full service from beginning to end. We offer planning, concept, brainstorming, all of the fun stuff where everyone can think, and we can be the voice of reason, be like, yeah, let's not do that, but we can also be the voice of, yeah, let's do that, because we think it's the best approach. We also do the production, the technical execution, from programming, soldering, operations, system design, user interface, user experience, and also experience design. And last but not least, we of course can bring our own stuff, but we also have a larger rental stock of media servers, sensor, signal distribution, AV systems. So we can bring it, but you can also dry hire. And if anything of this resonated with any one of you, then feel free to please reach out to us. You can reach us over email, hello@PlusPlusOne. Also visit our website, where we're going to post some more blog posts, and we have, of course, other social media channels like Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and GitHub, and they all have the same handle, which is nice. Follow us there, and hopefully you will see something that you like and reach out to us. And happy to be here. Thank you, Stefan.
And thank you for your support, PlusPlusOne. Thank you for your support, PlusPlusOne. And next, I would like to introduce to you Yasmin. And Yasmin is the manager of BDome. And she's also going to introduce the project shortly to you.
this one. Oh my God. Oh, wow. So, sometimes it's not easy, the live show, right? It's always complicated. First of all, thank you very, very much to come tonight. It's a pleasure to have you here. My name is Yasmin Elias, and I am the manager of B-Dome. This dome is the first geodesic dome that is set up in Berlin and is dedicated to events, exhibitions, and cinema in 360 degrees. This is not our first dome. I belong to a company called New Media. We have already another dome in Madrid, and I got this crazy idea to bring a dome to Berlin. It was not easy. I had to say it was really complicated to set a dome, but the Deutsche bureaucracy at the end was helping us, and we made it possible. Here we are. It is true that the word of the domes is kind of new to me, but the words of events and art have always been my home. As an art historian and event manager, I see every gathering as a living form of art. A work that only exists when someone experimented, okay? A piece of art is not a piece of art if you are not here, if somebody is not watching the piece of art. And B-Dome is a piece of art and also is an immersive event venue. Art and events, for me, they walk side by side, and both are seeking to move, to connect, and to transport who's encountered them. Well, today, immersive events, I continue with this idea of art, because art was always immersive. If we think in the caves in the prehistoric times, when you was getting really inside of the cave, you was also living an immersive experience to get there with guides or with hunting. And to create these immersive events, we need people like you that can run the technology. We need to make the people feel inside of a place. So my last words are related to all of you. This is a place for corporate events, but also for art. It's open to all the people that wants to collaborate and want to experiment. So you are really welcome to knock the doors of B-Dome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yasmin. And I have to say, yeah, so far the cooperation was very easy and pragmatic, something I highly appreciate. We talked about it, we did it, we're here now. And now I have the great pleasure to introduce Tarik Barri. He's a visual artist, a VJ, if I may say so. And he's originally coming from the Netherlands, but he also lives with us here in Berlin. You may know him from his visual performances with many famous artists, among them Tom York, which got a lot of attention. And another very interesting thing that Tarik is working on is VideoSync, which is a plugin for Ableton to make visuals directly in Ableton Live. And thus, this is a very good first speaker for our new note session format that still loves TouchDesigner, but is very open to everything else as well. Thank you for coming, Tarik.
Thank you for inviting me. It's nice to hear this microphone's working. Hey! Hello. So yes, I am indeed Tarik Barri. I come from the Netherlands, studied audio design, which was basically me trying to figure out how to do live performances in a way that made sense to me. Because I knew how to make music, at least I knew how to make music that I myself liked, and I knew how to stand on a stage, but I didn't really know how to make those two things combine in a way that made sense to me. Basically I wanted to find a way to perform that I had a meaningful relation to what was going on in my computer and to the audience, that people could see what I'm doing. So I thought maybe if I know how to program the computer and how to program music and how to program what happens when I do something with a slider and something happens to the music. Maybe then, maybe if I get into that, I can figure the stuff out, how to properly do live performance that suits me. So slowly, during the 4 years of my study in the Netherlands in audio design, I learned Max MSP, and with Max MSP I also learned how to do visuals, and at some point it became clear to me that making visuals was my answer to this problem. I could visualize the way that I was creating music and have people become part of my process. So that was how I got into visuals. Basically making music all the time, real time. I did a lot of it with Ableton or with Max MSP, and then I would add visuals as an add-on to that. But never had I considered, or even did I have to render something beforehand. So I came from a very purely musical, real-time kind of point of view, and I never even considered the whole other world that many people need to suffer in with many hours of rendering, all that kind of stuff. That was never a thing for me. So slowly, after my studies, I got to work with Robert Henke, and then I got to work with Tom York as well, and with Nicolas Jaar, where I became more of a purely visual artist. So at that point, it wasn't so much about me making visuals and music, but more about my real-time visual capabilities were basically, it was just a really nice way for me to find a market, so to speak, for my abilities. Sure, I can make audiovisual stuff. I still do that, and I love doing that. And I did it back then, and I do it now. But where I can actually earn some money is to latch on to famous artists and then have them rake in the money and me enhancing their show with visuals. So that's how I got into this making of real-time visuals outside of also making audio-visual works. And so now, I'm going to show one performance, or at least one trailer of a performance that I did with Sot, Iranian artist. So you get a little bit of an idea of what I was doing and still do. Thank you. So this was all really like I'm very happy to be doing this, and this I was doing with my self-programmed software in Max MSP and Java and a lot of shader language. So I had concocted my own programmatic cocktail to create visual works. And people would also often ask me, how do I do that? And I also would like to give, and I wanted to share this information to other people as well. However, that was very hard because this program with which I made these visuals was so specifically tailored to me, like it had so many bugs and weirdnesses, and I knew all of them like the back of my hand. And if I had any problems in a specific situation, I could fix it. But I could not, with good conscience, share this with anybody else, because they would just have a terrible time with it. So then people were saying maybe I could make it open source, but that also would entail a lot of responsibility. So no, I didn't want to do that, but that really frustrated me. And then came along these people from ShowSync who made this application called VideoSync. And they had this idea of making visuals from within Ableton Live. So also, honestly, myself, I've been using Ableton Live a lot within my visuals. So I would use Ableton Live to send signals to my visual engine, and things would be perfectly timed. However, they made something that was actually meant to be used by other people. And they asked if I maybe wanted to help in making plugins for that kind of stuff, because I am experienced in that world. Which is kind of like perfect for me, because yeah, finally I had a way to share the many feelings and opinions that I had about what would make a really awesome visual engine, and I could not just abstractly dictate that into the ether, but actually put it into programming, share with people and sell it to people. And also then get feedback from those people to see how to further develop that. So VideoSync is the program that I am talking about, which I'm going to show right now. First I need to, yes. So yes, VideoSync, basically I just started VideoSync, and here I have Ableton Live, and that is, that's all I did. And VideoSync comes with a whole bunch of devices, and I'm going to now get one of them in there, which will be, no effect please, I won't have an instrument, which is going to be the external in. So let's have video from, actually, let's make this a little bit bigger. Display and input. I'm not sure that's quite clear, but well. So here we have the external in instrument that I put into my MIDI track, and I'm selecting video from FaceTime HD camera. Yeah, it's not super readable, but you'll just have to believe me. And then you see me inside the VideoSync window. So yeah, VideoSync basically just acts as a visual output to Ableton. It is not one single plugin. It is basically just like you have speakers. Yeah, you can have speakers in your room, and they're going to be the audio output of Ableton. VideoSync is the visual output of Ableton. So how do you get output into those speakers? You have instruments in Ableton Live, and you put effects on top of them. And so with instruments, you generate the original signal, the original audio signal, and then you put it through effects to manipulate that. Same here. VideoSync has this external in instrument, but then I can also get an effect on top of that. Let's get an effect. Which one shall I do? I'm going to go for the Voronoi effect, which right now looks very much like it's just a generator, but yeah, you can see you can combine things here. But what I want to do is actually do this. Great, so here we have our Voronoi effect, and let's have it move a little bit. So now we already have something that, so now you see that we have got our external in. I'm going to turn it off. You'll see there's nothing going on here. Then we've got our Voronoi effect, which creates this thing. And then maybe I want to have something else on top of that as well. Let's have a colorize. Yes, great. Where I can set the colors that I want this image to have, and yeah, just play around with whatever I think may look beautiful. And maybe let's add a wavy on top of that as well. Yeah, okay, cool. So now I'm like an abstract being at this point, which I think is a really nice thing to be able to do, to go from the much more abstract to the much more concrete, and vice versa. So this is one instrument. This is called the external in. There's also a bunch of other instruments that we have. So let's add a MIDI track. Let's do something simple like squares. Yes. So look at that. We got squares. I can add a bunch of columns and rows, and I can, let's actually make it a little less. Now I've got smaller squares, and I can play them with MIDI as well. That's a little bit too small. And maybe I want to have a longer release time. Yeah, great. Let's get another instrument in here. The tabula is one that, the squares device, that's for very specific locations that you can light up certain parts of the screen. What maybe might be actually a nice thing to show right now is how tracks interact with each other. Right now we see that we got our external in track, which I can mute, by the way, and then you don't see it at all. I can also use the volume device, the volume fader, to define how much of it I want to see. Same thing also goes with this one. I can mute this or have it turn on. And this also demonstrates a lot of the general idea of video sync, that you really completely, fully follow the signal flow of Ableton. When I was saying that this is the visual output of Ableton, I really mean that in an as literal way as possible, that it follows the whole signal flow, including you can send your, you can send this, let's say I mute this, but I send it to return track A. Oh, that doesn't work because I got it muted. Okay, but let's say I do to sense only. Yes. Now you can see that, well, those who know Ableton, which might not be everybody, so sorry to you. But in any case, I am sending the visuals from one track, external in, to another track, which is called A return. And then here, you can see that if I mute this, this happens. It goes on and off. So of course, if I add an effect on top of this here, let's do the crop map. I'm going to put that on my return track. And then we can see how it applies here as well. Let's make some funky stuff here. Yeah. So that's the intention, that it really follows the full signal flow. This also includes, how do you call it, crossfading and all that kind of stuff. Yes, and one other instrument that I think is cool to show is the tabula. Come on. Great. So you see that the MIDI notes that I was just that are playing are now creating this these vertical lines. Let's make this range of notes a little bit less. Great. And now I want these notes to play my external in. It's my webcam basically. So let's take this back to main. So with the tabula, I now say I want video from external in. And now it's going to play these notes that you just saw on top of this webcam image. I'm going to turn off the webcam image, so you'll only see what the tabula is playing. What is nice, of course, also, is that I can, this is for, that I can use these same MIDI notes that I'm using to play these visuals of me, to also, let's group this, and let's get an original Ableton instrument in here, the wavetable. yeah, it's very simple. Basically, we now have the same MIDI notes that are going to the audio are going to the visuals. And I think I want to make a little macro. I want to have this parameter mapped to macro number 1. And a macro is basically a way to map multiple parameters to one parameter. So if I now turn macro 1 up and down, we get this. But I want to have also the softness parameter. Actually, let's make a note with a little bit bigger. I want to have the softness parameter mapped to this as well. So let's map this to macro 1 as well. I'm actually not super happy about this right now because as I'm going harder in the sound, I'm going softer in the visual, as you can see right here. So let's actually invert that mapping. So I'm going to go to the mappings here. Where are you, numbers? There you are, numbers. Okay, so let's invert this mapping, map. Let's see if this is going to be a little bit nicer. I actually want to exaggerate that softness a little bit. So I'm going to add one little blur on top here. Yes, something more like that. Cool. Let's make the bokeh blur. No, let's do it this one. Okay, so map to macro number 1. So that, I guess, gives a little bit of an impression of the audio-visual, but also purely visual and purely audio capabilities that you now have with Ableton. What I very often do is I have one track for audio, another track for visuals, and I can make them respond to each other. But I can also choose just to have them completely independent of each other. So I can choose to have, for instance, have something become bright right before the kick drum kicks in, and then as the kick drum comes, I take away the brightness, and then that becomes sort of like the audio-visual little pattern or theme that I'm employing there. So that's one thing that I specifically also like about VideoSync, that you can, by combining visuals and audio within one Ableton interface, you can have them completely connected, but you can also just have them related in ways that are much more perhaps abstract or interesting or delayed in time and all these kind of things. So you're very free in defining what you want your audiovisual relationships to be, if any. I'm not sure if I'm now through my time or if I have another couple of minutes. How much time do I have? 0? 5?
It's close to 0.
Close to 0. Okay.
But I mean, if you have something important to say, of course, go ahead.
No, well, then I'll only say it. That also, if you want, let me think. Okay, I'm going to show it, actually, and then I'm going to be done. Envelope follower. Honestly, at this point, I don't even know. Oh, I got it spelled wrong. Follower. Am I going to be able to show all results? Okay, so never mind. I'm just going to say it. Many times you also get the question, is it possible to just have like input audio, like from the microphone, connect to the visuals? Yeah, that's also very possible. You got your envelope follower in Ableton Live, where you can, which is just, the envelope follower is a standard device in Ableton Live. You can map the incoming audio to whatever parameter, which includes, of course, also the visual parameters that VideoSync provides. Oh yeah, and one other thing that I also want to show, and then we're really going to be done. But this is specifically nice because we are at the TouchDesigner thingy, and we got a lot of people who are programmers or semi-programmers. And you guys might therefore be interested in programming, as I myself also am. For this, we also have the ISF shader. Let me put that here. So this is basically, yeah, look at this. So this is another effect that we have in Ableton Live, where you can just have your own little bits of programming and have them become part of Ableton Live. So I can even edit a file. Let's open this file. This is definitely unreadable, but I'm just going to say multiply by 2, save. And look at that, the visual is twice as bright. So also if you want to employ your own shaders, or even want to just learn a little bit about them, how to make them, you can use VideoSync for that as well. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tarik. That was really interesting. First of all, I thought that was excellently VJ'd at the beginning. I wish we could have seen more of that. But now I have maybe 2 questions about VideoSync before we open the floor for questions. One
Sure.
would be honest, do you use it now for your own performances?
If I'm completely honest, then yes. But only since recently. I've been working on it for way longer than I've been using it, because initially it was nice, but not nice enough for me. And now finally, like since around a year, it's become nice enough also for me to use. So yeah, that's indeed a good question, and it's not an automatic yes. Yeah.
But what made the difference? So what made it good enough for you?
For me, releasing version 2.0 made it good enough for me, because that was the first time that I had a full control over all the plugins, and I could really make them work together in a really nice way. There were, before, with the other version, there was plugins that were also made by other people who didn't really have this as a very specific interest for themselves. So they made some things that kind of were nice, but in order to really make things work together, like having Lego blocks on top of each other and making a beautiful structure, that only was more recently the case. And now I feel like I can still not go everywhere that I want to go, and that's why I'm working on it so very much, because now it's in my own interest as a user to push it further. But it allows me enough areas to explore that I'm finding myself deeply fascinated by what's going on in the computer. Yeah.
I mean, I find it quite interesting to see it in Ableton. I mean, if you work, I mean, I mainly work in TouchDesigner, and when you work there with audio, it's nice, but it always feels a bit, let's say, in German we would say stiefmütterlich. The English translation is bad, it's shabby. But, you know, it feels like that's not the main focus, obviously. Do you suffer then with VideoSync from it not being the main focus, or do you feel that it's really fits into the whole idea of Ableton quite natively?
Do I suffer from the idea of what a perfect audio sync not being the main focus of VideoSync, or?
No, do you feel like it's a bit the stepchild of Ableton when it's in, or would you say it's so well integrated that?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of little things that I find annoying, like it almost perfectly integrates with Ableton. But for instance, you can drag video clips inside your session view, and you can warp them, and your video will be warped in the same way that the audio will be. I didn't even show that, even though it's like super awesome. But one thing that's not awesome is that when, for instance, I reverse the audio, which is really nice in Ableton that you can do it easily, it won't reverse the video, because the VideoSync does not have access to that information in Ableton. Like, it's trying to access all that it can, but in some little ways, it is indeed a little bit the ugly stepchild indeed. Like, it's almost perfect. I often don't have a frustration, but there's some little moments where it's like, ah, damn, I wish I was more nicely integrated. But for that to happen, we would actually need to have active Ableton cooperation. Yeah, which may happen in the future, but it's not there yet. Yeah.
Well, that sounds interesting, but there's always a way to improve.
Yeah.
Do we have questions from the audience? And so that they're on stream, I have to come with the microphone to you. Phelan, I see you waving.
Tarik, thank you. That was amazing. So you guys are using ISF shaders, aren't you? I know there's a way to support shader toy, because a lot of us more 2D people might be more familiar with shader toy. So can you explain a bit more about the shader methods you guys have got?
Oh yes, actually I have no idea how to go from shader toy to an ISF shader, but I do know that online we do have, in our tutorial, we do have a little step-by-step guide on how to do that. I myself have never done that, but indeed this is something more people have asked for, and yeah, that's very possible. Also, by the way, again, thanks to your focus on TouchDesigner, I'm also reminded that it's important to tell the TouchDesigner folks in here that there is siphon in and siphon out here. So if you want to have video sync go into TouchDesigner, that's very possible. If you want to have TouchDesigner go into video sync, that's also possible. If you want to do both, you can make an unholy, weird feedbacking thing between both of them. That's all fine. So just so you know.
I might add that's also true for the V4 people in the room. Hello, Jorek, seeing you there. And for the tool people in the room. Thank you very much. Do we have further questions? Still have a tiny bit of time. I see a hand over there.
Thank you. Is it still possible to like change, because I see like in the blur effect, still possible to change the stuff in Max?
Oh yeah. Right now, all that these devices do, these blur devices, like I can open it up, and all the devices are similar to this. Let's see if you can see it. They don't contain that much. They contain just the code that is needed to show the graphical user interface and to communicate with VideoSync. All of the shader stuff and yeah, all of the more complicated stuff that has to do directly with the visuals happens within VideoSync, within the C++ code, which makes it all very, very efficient, but also makes it very inaccessible for you to just really fine-tune. Of course, if you want to see what happens if I make this blur gain higher than 4, you can do that. So you can still go wild with the parameters and make them go into areas that we haven't made accessible to people, which can be super interesting. But if you want to go deep into the visuals themselves, that is not yet possible to do with Max for Live, not in a direct way, but highly confidential information, so I expect this will not leak this room. We are very much working on having Max jitter devices completely being integrated within VideoSync as well, and it's super cool to see some prototypes of that working. So yes, I'm thinking of that, and it's really cool and really important, and it will be coming. Yes.
Okay, one last question. I hope I don't ever see anyone. Ed is waving. Sorry, coming through.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you make your own patches in Jitter, Max MSP Jitter, and put them into the library of plugins?
Yeah, that's part of what I was just saying. Indeed, that was coming up. You can't do it yet, but in the future, somewhere in the future, this definitely will be possible, because
So is that Gen?
Jit Gen, but also just whatever, like anything in Jitter that you'll be able to create will be possible to make part of the whole VideoSync Ableton processing chain.
That's
yeah.
awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's sweet. I think we haven't heard too much about bright futures in the couple of last months. So thank you for that, Tarik, to bring a bit of hope to this grey.
Yes. On top of that, we shall also save the world. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it, please. So thank you again very much for coming, Tarik. It was great. Yeah. And we're going to have our famous social break, when we're going to be back a couple of minutes before 10 with a little insight in the Node Institute's course program. And with another exciting speaker, Tamara Knapp, who's already gearing up over there. And we're looking very much forward to her talk. So see you in a couple of minutes. Thank you. All right. And as always, the social break is over faster than one would anticipate. I'm sorry for forgetting the time a little bit. And to sweeten the moments in which you return to your place, I would use the opportunity to talk a tiny bit about our course program at the Node Institute. As you may know, the summer season 2025 has kicked off massively. Our beginners course has started yesterday. It's a 12-week TouchDesigner beginners course led by Nima Ghazestani. Lots of people learn TouchDesigner through a lot of tutorials, but there's so many tutorials now that it can be a very confusing path. And this is kind of the fast track, and it's also avoiding a lot of fake news. So basically, by doing this course, you have the tools to look into the more advanced tutorials and really get going as fast as possible. Once you finish the beginner's course, you could step into the TouchDesigner Professionals. That's not necessarily a consecutive course. It's a collection of 13 modules led by specialists in their field. For example, we have, and it is not a consecutive course, but of course the order makes a certain sense. So you will see that we start with a 2-session introduction into GLSL by Vanta, which means that later courses can refer to basic GLSL. You find all this on our website. I don't necessarily need to go through. The idea behind professional is not that you need to be a pro, but it means professional in the initial sense of the word. That means it tries to give you the tools that you need to earn your money with TouchDesigner. So you will learn about GLSL, about UV pixel maps, about lighting in TouchDesigner, about interactive VR experiences. Dan is going to do a Python introduction, which probably is super useful for a person like me who knows Python only from TouchDesigner and does all kinds of bad things. Also super interesting, Darian Brito will talk about the pops. And super exciting also, we have Nunom Boton, hope I pronounced that right, who will have a course from micro to macro where he will show how to take actual biological or research data from the biological field and turn that into beautiful and organic data visualizations in TouchDesigner. And if you follow his work on Instagram or wherever, you know that that's going to be super interesting. Yeah, we also have Simon Ryden, aka Supermarket Salad, who will talk about building live tools for live performance, either for oneself or for other artists, with already one eye on the dome as an immersive space where that tools could be applied. Lukas, who is going to talk later, he's going to talk about VJing, optimized VJ workflows in TouchDesigner. And last but definitely not least, Mickey van Olst. If you know him, you know he's kind of a Renaissance man. There's almost nothing that Mickey van Olst can't do, and he's going to show how to build a painting app with Python, GLSL, and TouchDesigner. And there's going to be stuff like how can I use a Python script to generate whole networks, to dynamically regenerate them on demand. So the best of coding and visual programming in one go. Just tonight, we kicked off the new media dramaturgy masterclass, creative masterclass by Helin Ulas and Belchim Yavuz. This is like a 6-week online course about how to use media in stage environments, and it's going to culminate with the participants meeting in Berlin and putting on a show in the Canapé studio. Just as exciting, but also with a bit of Terminator music in the background, is Amir Bastan, who works at the Creative Robotic Lab in Linz. He's going to do a course about creative robotics. Again, 6 weeks online, interact with robots through simulation, explore how you can use robots as partners in a creative endeavor. And also the participants then will come to Berlin we'll do a show in Canopy Studio, and that's also going to be our contribution to 48 Hours of Neukölln. We're super excited about these creative master classes because they kind of combine the best of online learning, but actually meeting in real life. I can recommend that very much. And also in the room is Mert Akbal, who's going to do a course about Blender, 3 sessions. And the focus is going to be a bit on how do you prepare stuff in a 3D software like Blender to make use of it in real-time 3D environments like TouchDesigner, like V4, like Unity, like Unreal, etc. pp. How do you bake maps? How do you, get the stuff from one software to the other and do all the things that can be a bit hard in our beloved real-time software in a full-fledged but free and open source 3D software. This one's going to start next week, and it can definitely see some more participants, so you're encouraged to join. And something that we understood is that in the past years we've collected a huge amount of courses, and some of them just kind of disappear when the season is over, so we put them all together in this new thing which is called the course directory, where you see what we have had in the past and have now for TouchDesigner, V4, other software like Blender, Wakinator, Chataigne, etc. pp, which we think are useful, and also our free courses. And as you can see, it's really a lot that came up in the past. As we are in the Dome, there's going to be another batch of creative masterclasses. One is going to be run by me. Timing is not clear yet. It's going to be about immersive VJ performance. Again, 6 weeks online. It's not so much about technical stuff. It's really about helping you to create a good work that then in the end will be performed in the actual location, which will be Studio 1111, which has 270 degrees of projection, a lot of resolution, not easy to VJ at all. And the other creative masterclass will be led by Simon, aka Supermarket Salad, and we do this in cooperation here with the B-Dome. Again, 6 weeks, develop the work in a simulation. This is going to be mainly software agnostic. Of course, our heart is with TouchDesigner, but people with all kind of skill set can join that course, learn how to develop their work, finish their work, go through the actual production, deliver the actual file in time, and then come here to the Dome to see it and experience in real time. But that's it. And you may say, where are the V4 courses? Yes, I have to admit, I biased. I forgot the V4 course, also because it's already started 4 sessions ago. If you want, you can join all our courses anytime. We make sure that the recording, that it doesn't really matter if you join through the recording or the live session. That's not perfectly true for the creative masterclasses, because there's a lot about individual consultation, which of course doesn't translate into a recording. But all the other courses, you can join them anytime, live or async. So with that advertising break, thank you very much. Let's return to the note sessions. And our next guest, I'm very excited to introduce Tamara Knapp. Yeah, actually it's interesting that we meet here for the first time, because we have a common past in Weimar, and I think virtually our paths have crossed a few times, so I'm super happy that you're here, and I'm very interested to hear what you're going to tell us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, hello everyone, I hope you can hear me well. So today I will talk a little bit about natural aesthetics in technological systems and my analog and digital approach in my working process. I'm Tamara, and I'm a little bit of a all-arounder, I would say. So I'm a visual artist, somewhere between analog and digital methodologies. I'm also a freelancer, somewhere between graphics, coded systems, and imagery. And I'm also a lecturer, somewhere between creative technologies, visual research, and graphic design. My background is in the fields of photography and also my bachelor and master in visual communication. But while studying and doing this, I also kind of did another path leading into working with TouchDesigner, creative coding, and media art. So today I want to guide you a little bit also through my inspiration and through my process of different kind of projects and my sometimes collective process of collecting all my different materials. So all the kind of aspects and fields that I'm interested in, such as different materials, formlessness in design, nature, visual research, and so on and so on. For the beginning, I want to start with my research and materials. So the fact about how I also create analog visuals through different kind of approaches. Here I have a little map which kind of visualizes my analog as well as digital process, such as analog tools, analog processes, as well as digital processes and digital tools, which, as you can see, are always in some kind of a form of loop or iteration. So sometimes the analog input influences the digital input or the other way around. And I really like this kind of workflow using many, many different kind of techniques in my artistic process. So for that, I use many kind of techniques, and especially for the analog approach, I'm really interested into how to kind of capture these specific forms of shapes and materials, colors, and this specialty in analog footage, I would say. What you can see here are some experiments which are made with ferrofluid, which is some kind of a magnetic fluid that you can kind of move. And here you can see different kind of approaches by using different colored foils, for example, different lighting settings, but it's always like the same setup with one material, which I think is kind of interesting. So for this analog approach, I really like to research visually with natural materials, as you can see on the left, but also like unnatural materials such as foils, for example, as you can see on the right, and to kind of manipulate them in analog ways, transform them through heat, for example. And this is the aspect that leads me to my kind of lecture part that took place at Bauhaus University. And there I was working in the graphic design department for the Space for Visual Research for a couple of years now. And the space is some kind of a research platform or laboratory where the students could create different kind of experiments through digital and analog techniques and try to find their own aesthetics by developing their own visual research and their own tools. So this is there are some insights of the courses. So we were dealing a lot with digital material and also analog material. And I think the symbiosis of both of them in here is quite interesting. And as you can see, some aspects here are also included in TouchDesigners. So we also work a lot with then creating the analog material and then transferring them into digital tools, digital programs such as TouchDesigner. Here you have a little overview of the space and some insights into analog chemigrams that we did in the photo studio, or experiments with light and materials also in the photo studio, but also experiments in printing and in transferring all these kind of techniques and methods into digital shapes, for example. I also want to give you some insight of one specific course. That was the course Tools for Visual Research, which was mainly based on developing your own digital and analog tools. I did this course together with Xaver Hirsch and together with Lena Weber. And it was here very interesting to see how the students kind of transformed analog objects, as you can see here, for example. And then we used the LZX Videot. It's an analog video synthesizer to kind of transform these objects the students collected and made graphics out of it, did some abstractions with them, and then transferred them into TouchDesigner to create shapes and to create, in the end, for example, a couple of posters. All this leads me now to some projects. I want to give you some insights into my inspiration, my research, and all the progress and process in these different kind of projects. So first of all, we have a project called Dream Capsule, which was an audiovisual performance together with Xaver Hirsch. He's also here today. And here we were really inspired by, I would say, one question, asking ourselves what would happen if we all could record our dreams, and what would happen to society if we could have access to our recorded dreams and share our dreams. And one big inspiration was the researcher Yukiyasu Kamitani and his research on his deep dream reconstruction, which was mainly based on bringing the images of dreams to life in recording them by the brain data that he collected. So if you are interested in that, you can have a quick look through it, because it is very, very interesting. And based on this research and our creative process, we kind of created this audiovisual performance, which had kind of different phases, I would say. So the first phase was kind of the part where we were dealing with the fact of remembering, and we created different images, texts, typographic elements, and words that we are dealing with in our everyday life to kind of confront ourselves, for example, also with some kind of advertisement and everyday visuals, I would say, that daily confront us. And we created these visuals and combined them in TouchDesigner. So the next part was the kind of dream recorder. So we developed some kind of a story through our audiovisual performance. So it was not just visuals, we had this kind of story that we were telling about two scientists developing a pill that you can take, and this pill will kind of recreate all the things that will happen in your head, in your mind, all the emotions that you are feeling while dreaming, and records everything that you're feeling in your body. So this phase of the audiovisual performance was mainly based on the very organic feelings and the creation of organic imagery, where we also used artificial intelligence, for example, in programs such as Runway ML or Comfy UI, and tried to create this kind of visual impression of being in the body. This is also a little overview, because I can't show you the whole performance because it was about, I think, 1 hour long. So here are some snippets of the different kind of visuals that we used to create this kind of organic and fluid process in the body, but also to kind of recreate visuals that we collected from writing down different stories of our dreams, which I thought was a very nice method also to use artificial intelligence. Then we also kind of used TouchDesigner, Stable and Stream Diffusion to recreate our mind's visuals, I would say. And I think it was kind of a funny way to get these impressions to life. And here you can see a snippet of the performance from me taking the pill to start this kind of journey through my dreams. After each project, I have a little tools in use. So all the tools that we have been using for this performance, such as for a system to perform, the material that we have been collecting before, the AI systems that we have been using, and as well the research that we did. Another audiovisual performance, which is mainly based on a kind of more lecture part, I would say, is OVA. And OVA is a journey through the evolution of the feminine egg cell in the age of emerging technology. So also some kind of a storytelling in an audiovisual performance. For that, I was very inspired by the Cyberfeminism Index by Mindy Su, which is a collection and some kind of archive of all the different aspects historically talking about cyberfeminism, which was, for me, a huge base for the whole process of creating this audiovisual performance. So from there, I collected different wordings I took into the audiovisual performance and was very inspired by the fact of using an archive in a book and trying to transfer this into an audiovisual performance using text, images, videos, and whatsoever. So for this, the main thing and the main visual, obviously, was the egg and the creation of different kind of images and visuals of egg cells and of the egg itself. And during the performance, I had different kind of phases that I went through, and there I had the input of the Cyberfeminism Index. I also was working with the book from Legacy Russell, Glitch Feminism, and there I kind of combined a way of telling a story by using these avatars, as you could see, and they were talking and telling the story of Ova, the feminine egg cell. And this was a very interesting way, and the first lecture performance that I did, to kind of have a symbiosis of my being as a visual artist and also my being as a lecturer, which I found quite interesting. Here you have a little overview, also made in TouchDesigner. So here I used basically TouchDesigner to create my system, to create my layouts, to extract data from images into pixels, deconstruct them, trying to collect the color data and made shapes out of them. And I was trying there to really use TouchDesigner as a tool of combination, I would say, to get this whole performance and the whole story together. And even if all the outputs and inputs are so different, I found it very interesting how they, in the end, kind of come together, and how typographical and informative elements, graphical elements from TouchDesigner, organic, natural or unnatural elements kind of unfold in this one performance. Here also a little tools and use list. So again, some AI systems such as RunwayML and ComfyUI, but also analog materials, organic structures, but mainly the system that was made in TouchDesigner to perform, but also to collect and combine. Another project I want to dive into is Segments of a Cell, which was part of the Arts and Science residency of Künstlerische Tatsachen in Jena. I don't know if you have heard of it. They always have each year an Arts and Science residency where you can collaborate with different scientific institutions. And I was collaborating there with the Hans Knoll Institute and a computer scientist. So a completely new field for myself. And I was kind of thrown into that. So I've never worked with real scientific data before, never worked with cells before, never really was in such kind of a laboratory. And this was all really new and really abstract, not only for me, but also for the scientist, because he had never worked with an artist before. So kind of two worlds were colliding here. And the things I was confronted with on my research were like abstract data sets and papers and mathematical kind of formulas and stuff. But by looking a little bit closer and talking to the scientist, we kind of came to some things that we had in common, which were the interest of creating and collecting shapes. He did this by data. I did this before in my graphic design approach. And here I was diving into his research on segmenting the image input into graphical elements of cells in neural networks so that cells could be automatically recognized or could be followed, as you can see here in the background, so they could be tracked. So with his approach and my kind of visual background, we kind of combined our skills and tried to make a new way of using his Python scripts, using his neural networks, using all the data to collect, and trying to make a new kind of archive of cells, which you can see here. And this kind of archive was then used in a book as a basis of the further work, which then evolved into sculptures, for example, analog chemigrams, where the graphical archive shapes of the cells were the base, different forms of abstractations of combining the visual elements, the data sets, the images of the microscopes they were using, and trying to make a whole new setting out of it. And also by tracking the data sets of the cells and transferring them into graphics, visuals, where obviously TouchDesigner had also its place. The last project, the hug, music video that I also did together with Xaver Hirsch. And this is about, I think the release is 2 weeks ago. And the main base of this music video for Philipp Rumsch was to work with stones. So we had a whole research on stones and how to create visuals with that and out of it. So as we work with analog and digital techniques, it was very interesting to look at different books, also old books of minerals, of stones, and we scanned all of them. We're looking through them. We're kind of analyzing the patterns, the structures, and the shapes. We also did microscopic images of collected stones. We did 3D scans of the stones. And then trying to create out of the shapes that we were making, for example, by 3D scanning them, making graphical shapes out of it, and using them in 3D engines like Unity, we created our own kind of organic approach of stones, because the whole music video was about this communication part being more fluid, coming together and going away from this hard and stiff stone, I would say, into a more organic and fluid approach. So here we created many assets of stones and their textures. And by talking about textures, we definitely used also our analog scanned material from the books, or the photographs, or the microscopic images that we took. And these, again, were deconstructed, pixelated in TouchDesigner, which was a very interesting process to integrate this digital kind of technique and approach into this analog materials and all these kind of scans that we were collecting. And as you can see here, all these things in the end come together, like the 3D images and videos, the scans, the microscopic images, the 3D images, and the TouchDesigner output as well, leading us into, I have a little index here of the music video, leading us into a final music video of different visual elements, analog and digital, being combined in one, which was a very nice process and way to create. Here again, another list with all the tools that I already told you about. So analog materials, TouchDesigner, and 3D tools. And before I end, as you could see, all this artistic approach visually in my lectures, in my research, it's all about mixing, and it took me a while to kind of accept that in a way, because I'm not only one thing, I don't use only one tool, I use many of them, and this is for me a thing that is very kind of interesting, and it's a part of collecting, rethinking, collaboration, using many different tools, experiment, reusing, iterating, and looping things, and as well as the reading part and being very drawn to books. So I'm very happy to be here, and also to start in the break to have some dialogues, exchange, and Skillshare, which I think this place stands for, and I'm very happy to be here, and thank you so much.
Tamara, thank you very much. That was really impressive. I'm really impressed how you bring all those things together. And I think the point you made in the end, this I'm not one thing. I'm not. Yeah, what can I say? I really liked it, and the aesthetic is really great. I think it deserves a much more intellectual question than I would be able to ask it, and so I discussed with Hashini, and she has cooked something up, so I'll hand the microphone over to her.
Firstly, thank you so much, Tamara. Also, beautiful presentation, like #goals. Like, I need to do better with my presentations. I wanted to ask you, since you mentioned the Cyberfeminism Index and Legacy Russell's Glitch Feminism, part of also the Glitch Feminism Manifesto is recognizing that there is, that the glitch reveals something in the system, right? That we see the system as a binary construct, but actually the glitch reveals that there's another possibility of existence. And so I'm wondering, in your artistic practice in navigating this kind of aesthetics of technological systems, how do you document error while still kind of having this approach towards striving for the organic and the fluid?
That's a very nice question. Well, but I also think it's very hard to answer this in like one sentence. For me, in this kind of research processes, it is really interesting to read through all these different aspects, and I think you summarized them very well. Like also in the glitch feminism, I was really into this kind of aspect of, okay, we have so many wordings here that can be used visually and can be also transferred in a philosophical way. So why not bring all of them somehow together? And I think, as you just saw some snippets of the performance, it also plays a lot with sound and how like these different phases in this performance, for example, kind of clash together. So there's not this kind of linear approach, and sometimes the digital errors the analog, and sometimes the analog errors the digital. And I found it quite interesting in this kind of performance and in this kind of approach by working with the cyberfeminism and the glitch feminism, that it doesn't matter where the input comes from. Like, it can be super old images, they can be pixelated, they can be in really bad quality, but the meaning of the image or the meaning of what it is telling us is not changing. So I think this is some kind of thing that I was also trying to approach, because it's not about the perfect and the sharpest images here, it's about what they tell us and how they can refer to something that we can stand for or that we can have questions to.
Thank you. I think I just want to give a round of applause, because I really love that.
Thank you.
And I have a second question before I let go of the mic, which is with the last project where you were showing with the stones. I love that. I've been obsessed with rocks. This is the era of being obsessed with rocks, and so people will know that from our poster of my last event. But I'm curious, of this approach of how to find an aesthetic when you're mixing so many different tools, and I love that, because I think when I was first starting as an artist, it really was like, okay, I don't know how to use, I'm not an expert in any of these things, so let me combine so many different things together. But I think as I kind of fell in the TouchDesigner rabbit hole, I started to only use that tool and started to be blinded to kind of constrain my limits to the interface and to what that tool could offer. So I'm wondering, in this kind of approach, how do you still find, I mean, I guess one comment is that it's such an extension towards remix culture, to see that it's, that remix culture can extend towards the tools that we're using. So I'm wondering, how do you kind of, find your ending when you're mixing so many different techniques together to still create something that has meaning at the end of that process?
Yeah, I think the ending is the deadline coming nearer and nearer. And the ending is definitely a problem, because I'm collecting and have many archives from each project, and so many visuals or images that no one has seen because I didn't put them in the end into the performance or video or visuals or whatever. So yeah, I think most of the time it's the deadline that kind of structures what's coming in and whatnot.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
That being said, we only have time for one question, which is mainly my fault, I admit, but we just heard that deadlines are necessary sometimes. So where was that question?
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. It was really fantastic. Because myself, I come from artist background, and I'm also a guest professor in UDICA, so I'm just quite curious, but I'm pretty new in this touch designer kind of technology field, so I just ask a very kind of probably not technically kind of professional question, but I'm just curious, like in terms of the anchor of your research. I mean, you use multiple kind of media, like organism, like even dream, and also memory, and also rocks. So, in collaboration with a lot of scientists and computer scientists, which is really amazing. Like, is there any kind of like the cybernetic kind of feminism is also pretty cool project. Like the anchor of your project is just a natural kind of organism, or like is there any political kind of emphasis from this whole? It's really, really broad. I really love it. I mean, first of all, really impressed by the visual presentation, but is the focus of your whole beautiful combination is mainly about natural organism, or what is your focus?
Yeah, I would say it is between the natural and the artificial, like blending these two components. And on the other hand, I think something that is leading through everything is the blending of form and formlessness, and the question about like where's the in-between? Is there an in-between about these poles, like form and formlessness, or nature and the artificial? I think these are like some boundaries that I'm kind of pulsing in between through all these different kind of topics.
So technology and also touch designer to bring the nature to the artificial entity. Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you much for that question, and thank you, Tamara. I'm really sorry that we kind of have to cut this to give people a bit of fresh air. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
We're going to go into the social break. We're going to return at 10. We're going to hear a bit from our community initiative, Pixel Forest. Just a very quick introduction. Then we're going to hear from Lukas Ruoff, and afterwards we have the open dome situation, which means if you have dome content that you want to try here and that's maybe not too long, you can go to Peter, which is the last row of defense here in this tech setup, and he will see if your files are digestible. And this is not a very organized process, I'm just saying it, so we're trying to collect stuff. You can also already bring stuff to him now. And we also want to try what happens if we send DOM content through NDI onto the system. So that's the future. The present is now. Please enjoy your social break and talk to you later. Hello. And we are back from our beloved social break, and we want to take the opportunity before the next speaker to give the word to also beloved community members, as there are Marta Pang and Biliam Chepe, known as Electronaut, and they have cooked up a very exciting project, and I'm curious to hear what you're going to tell us about it.
Still a lot of people missing, right? Stefan, should we wait a bit? Still a lot of people missing? Oh. All right. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Hello, everybody. We are Marta and Biliam from Pixel Forest, which is an exciting new project that we want to share with you. And yeah, so our name is Pixel Forest, an ecosystem for digital art and technology, and we're going to give you a bit of an overview before the next presentation of what this is all about. So yeah, we are 3 people actually organizing this physical new space. We're Ploys, Marta and Biliam, which is me, and we're actually collaborating with a studio called 3E8, which is actually focused on V4. So we are, the 3 of us, we are TouchDesigner artists and have been for a while, and now we've partnered up and create a new space in Berlin for other artists, mainly TouchDesigner, but it's really kind of open for all new media and generative art. Yeah, you want to go?
So what is Pixel Forest? So Pixel Forest is a space which is located in Marienfelde in Berlin. So this space is designed for collaborations, for people to come to learn in person. That means we will be also hosting workshops or meetups, and we will be also having some experimentations gear, and also a space for people to come to exhibit their work. And we also plan to do some home concerts or live performance, or you can also just come and chill in our space. Yes, so this is pretty much it. Yeah, so this is a unrenovated space. We got really lucky to have this space. It's really huge and with a lot of windows. And yeah, so this is just an overview of our place. So with this big space, we are planning to do quite a lot of different stuff. So first of all, of course, there will be a place for us to work, and we also plan to have some co-working space, which is like not for long term, but like flexible. If you have a project, if you need space to work or a gear, some gears to borrow, and we'll be open for that as well.
And we're going to have a dedicated room for a sort of tech lab. So this is going to be like a playground where we have a projector set up. We have gear for interactive experiments. So this is also for us, so we don't actually have to like experiment at home so much, but we actually have a space where we can work. But this is also going to be sort of open, so you can approach us if you want like a space where you want to experiment with like interactive installations, want to test out like Arduino and other sensors and just kind of work together. And this is our main space. It doesn't look that beautiful yet, but that's gonna change soon. So the main space is 40 square meters, and that's where we're actually gonna be hosting like workshops. We wanna host regular workshops, mainly on TouchDesigner and V4. We're gonna do some like small live AV performances there, maybe living room concerts, and we also wanna host regular meetups, especially for the TouchDesigner community, but really again, wanna open it up as well. So we also want to kind of keep this more low-key. I mean, I'm very happy that we have these like Node Institute roundtables back, but we also kind of want to have more regular low-key meetups where we can just kind of meet and we don't even have to like be creative. We can also just talk, but we can also create stuff together. It's very, very open, the whole thing. And of course, some area where you can just meet and talk and chill together. And so we actually just started a crowdfunding for this, and I just want to give you an overview of where your support goes when you support our project. So mainly what we need for now is basic furniture, essential equipment, and we need some money to start the first like workshops, meetups, and exhibitions. We want to compensate our team and like build a bit of a team of helpers, and we need some money for the maintenance of the space in the early months. And what do you get if you support crowdfunding?
So basically, we're happy, like not happy, but we are offering like different kind of like level as well. So like from €5 to like above. So you can get like 50% discounts for the workshop, or also some discounts for renting the space, and we'll be also hosting our soft opening. So we'll be happy to like invite like all of you to come to our place, and we'll also host like an online group TouchDesigner Q&A sessions. But I mean, if maybe some of you are not like very familiar with TouchDesigner, then like we'll be also happy to like just give some advice like how to start, or if you're interested in our personal life, you could also like come to ask us questions. So apart from that, we're also very open for any advices. If you like think that anything that can benefit from like to you, like from our space, welcome to talk to us, and we're also happy to just change the level of what we can give to the people, because we are building this space not only for us, we want to also build a community so we can meet in person.
So in a more general sense, what you kind of get from this as a community is that you can regularly join meetups and workshops. We just provide a space that can give you access to like exhibitions, so you can maybe have your own small exhibition there. We can collaborate, and you have access to gear, and you can just kind of meet like-minded people. I think we're all kind of in need of meeting people in person that are like in the same community, and we want to have like performances, and you're just kind of part of an exciting new creative community, because I feel like a space like this exactly doesn't really exist in Berlin yet. So I think it's a cool opportunity and has a lot of potential. Yeah, this AI-generated idea of what it could look like. So let's grow a forest together. So yeah, we'd highly appreciate it if you could support us and start next. There's a QR code. We also have an Instagram that we didn't put there. So it's Pixel Forest Berlin. Yeah, thank you so much. And you can ask us and approach us any questions that you like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the initiative, and I think, yeah, especially in these dystopian times, this meeting people in person is super essential. Like, don't trust the media, trust the people that you can actually talk to and that have seen things with their own eyes. So, thank you for that. And now I would like to introduce our next speaker. It's Lukas Ruoff. Some of them may know him as a VJ, some of them may actually know him as a teacher, and he's going to tell us a bit more how he brings those worlds together. Thank you for coming, Lukas.
Thank you for having me. So, hello. I'm very happy to be here, very happy that we are having roundtables or node sessions, as they call it now again. So, I am Lukas, as Stefan just said, and today I will talk a little bit more about my work in general, and then I will get a little bit more into talking about teaching TouchDesigner, AI, and DOM, or in general, like those three things connected to each other. So, in general, I do work as a freelancer, motion designer, and as a VJ. And I'm also teaching design and touch designer at different universities in Berlin and host workshops from time to time. My freelance work is usually revolving around music, arts, and culture, and almost everything I do has some touch designer in it. So, to kick this off with the very highlight of my early career, this was when I was 15, as you might see, with the haircut. So I was doing a lot of arts and stuff like this, doing a lot of graffiti. So I thought, okay, the logical thing to do coming from there would be to become a graphic designer. So also, like same age, I started using cracked Photoshop and Illustrator and stuff like this to create graphics, create type, and then also applied to study design at HTW Berlin. And there, as I said, I was kind of expecting to be a graphic designer or to become a graphic designer. So I started out doing a lot of posters, basically. And after kind of having enough of typography, I got more into doing like backgrounds for posters, so like the visual layer in it. And that led me to generative art or to generative stuff in general. So yeah, I thought generative stuff is really cool because of its digital. You have like a lot of details. Also, you can get a big amount of variation out of it very easily. So I thought, okay, this is the place. This is where I want to go to. And in the university, we had processing courses at the time, which I then took. And yeah, I liked the outcome, but to be honest, I didn't really like the coding part of it very much. At least at that time, I didn't. So I thought, okay, let's do something else. Let's try this touch designer thing I heard of. I had a university course where we should do data visualizations. And we thought, okay, this is the point to bring in touch designer. So we tried to do some climate data visualizations, and it didn't work out like at all. So yeah, we couldn't do what we wanted to do, maybe because it was wrong, or probably I think it was mostly because we were wrong and we didn't know how to use touch designer. So in the end, like my teammate Anna Brauers, she hard coded the whole thing, and I did like the stylish stuff and like the presentation and stuff like this. But afterwards, I was really intrigued by touch designer. So I thought, okay, now I really need to learn it. And then yeah, I started learning it, And by the time I had one guy in my university who was already doing TouchDesigner, Leon Volbers. I don't know if anybody knows him here. Shout out to Leon anyway. So we were doing we had this first initial session doing really feedback loopy stuff. And I got really hooked. And then I fell down into this rabbit hole, which at that time consisted a lot of Note to the Talking Ball, Paqueta 12, also Biliam. And took a lot of stuff in from there. And yeah, I really started to love TouchDesigner and to be very happy about this tool because it was as experimental and as intuitive as I always hoped for. And it was visual coding, so still being a student, not really wanting to code, I was really happy to have the visual coding aspect to it. And as you all know, you can do great stuff with TouchDesigner. You have data inputs, you have the audio-visual stuff, you have generative design, and many, many more aspects you can do with TouchDesigner. So from there on, I decided, okay, TouchDesigner is the thing I want to use now, and I kept on using it also for my bachelor project, which was this an interactive installation where you had many projectors, and then when you were walking through the fabric, there were sensors interacting with you, so you basically could change the installation just by passing through it. But as anybody who does their bachelor and finishes their studies, I also found that I might have to work and might have to make money somehow. So I started working, and I found a job at PFA Studios, where I also did my internship before and started working there. And in the beginning, this was mostly 3D related stuff. So doing a lot of Cinema 4D modeling, stuff like this, like in this Amazon Music project, or also got the chance to work on the Moderat live show. But also, I could do a lot of TouchDesigner there and do generative visuals, a lot of kinetic animations, and other stuff like this. What I also could do there, because of PFA Studios was playing a lot of live visuals at the time, is to play live on different stages, on different festivals in Europe, and I collected a lot of experiences there. This was a very, very fun time. Also because I had the chance to play for a lot of musicians that I really like, such as Klangkünstler, Marcel Dettmann, Nina Kravitz. So playing a lot of live visuals. And then, around the same time, the HTW Berlin, where as you might remember, where I studied, they came to me and asked me hey, we are going to do some TouchDesigner thing at university. Do you maybe want to do a workshop? And I was okay, I never tried it before, so let's try it out. And apparently it went very well. I was having fun. The students were having fun, and after that, we had a lot of people that were asking HTW to do more TouchDesigner stuff. So I got to do more TouchDesigner stuff then, and had the first project, which was not only a short workshop, but a full semester workshop. And this was the project was called Touch. So it was about touch, if it either physical, digital, whatever kind of touch you were looking for, and the students should create interactive installations. And we had some quite good outcomes, I would say, like this kinetic installation by Anton Böckle and Jonathan Grupp, which was then later also exhibited in Ars Electronica. Another project from this course which I really liked was this project by Yannick Söllner, and he built this futuristic dystopian Tamagotchi kind of thing. He also built all of the hardware and wired it all up together in TouchDesigner. Also a very impressive project for somebody who just started using TouchDesigner. in my opinion. All right, so then I kind of decided, okay, now I want to be a freelancer. I want to try it out. Like, how is it to be freelance, to do it on your own? And luckily, I had a university in the back, which gave me like kind of regular income as well. So yeah, I decided to do that, and I continued working like in similar fields as I did before. So I did a lot of like music-related stuff, album covers, audiovisual animations. Also continued playing live visuals, but then at some point I realized, okay, doing live visuals alone is like not as fun. So I decided to team up with 2 other people that I also played live a lot before. So we already knew we were working well as a team. And we found Ungrid. I put this cute little mood board, so just so you get an impression. So Ungrid is a live visual collective. Follow us on Instagram. Yeah, and we are doing live visuals. So yeah, those are some quick impressions of stuff we did last year. There's also going to be video later, just to spoiler you. Yeah, so after some time of being a freelancer, I put this little graphic together to think about what is it that I'm doing. Like, I have those different fields, how do they connect, how do they interact with each other? And I found that I'm doing like live visuals, design jobs, and also teaching. And yeah, like those three different parts of it, they all connect by using TouchDesigner, first of all, and they also connect by creative collaboration. So this is a word that I chose because I found that in all of those different fields, for me, it's always about connecting people with each other, like working together with people and bringing creative ideas together. And this is also for me personally, I think this is the most fun thing to do in my work. And this is, I would say, this is what I'm in it for. Yeah, but as I told you before, today this is also going to be a little bit more about the teaching stuff I do. So to get a little bit deeper into that, I brought a project that I want to share some insight on. And yeah, I will first tell you some general stuff about the project, and I will give some insights in the workflows that we use. And then in the end, I'm going to try and tell what I think that I might have learned from that. Yeah. So Art and Music was a university course which I held last year, and it was about creating AI-based dome visuals for Arte Concert. And all of that should take place in the end at the Zeiss Großplanetarium in Berlin, like close to Prenzlauer Allee. You might know that. And yeah, I had 18 students. We were using 6 different AI tools to create content for 4 different live concerts, which each consisted like of 1-hour live show. It was a collaboration project between 2 universities, so the TU and the HTW Berlin were coming together. And we only had 2 months of time with 2 course days a week. And also only 1 TouchDesigner license, which is like the craziest part, I think, about it. So it was just to spoiler that, it was kind of a tough project. But we made it in the end, otherwise I wouldn't be standing here talking about it. So, first, before I get deeper into this, I want to share some credits on it, because as you noticed, there was many people involved. And first of all, as I already mentioned, HTW and TU Berlin, then the production company who actually made the project start. So they pitched their idea, they wrote like this PDF with like many buzzwords in it, like AI and synesthesia, and then they sold it to Arte, and then they found, oh, okay, yeah, there is not enough budget to do this like with a big agency, so they decided to do it with students, and this is how this actually got into the university in the first place. Yeah, we had Professor Pablo Dornhege and Franziska Ritter representing and also supporting the project from the HTW and TU Berlin side. And then we have this long list of students' names. I'm not going to read all of them, but thank you very much. I think this project, yeah, those are the people who built the stuff in the end. So thank you to all the students. All right. So if I begin with a project, I don't know how you do it. I like to, at least in the beginning, keep it organized somehow. So I came up with this timeline. So I thought in the beginning we are having the band information. Then like for the first half, people should learn some TouchDesigner, and then we get into the realization of the project. As you also might know, those timelines don't always work. That's the way you would expect them to. So this is what the actual timeline was. So we got like the band information like somewhere in the middle of the project. Then we got like a band swap. So they told us, oh, it's going to be a different band. This is not a problem to you, right? Like I think this was like 3 weeks before the concert. And then also, of course, people were learning TouchDesigner like all through the project. So basically until the day before the concert, people were learning TouchDesigner. Yeah, so this was the actual timeline. But yeah, we somehow made it even with this timeline. And the stuff we were using was like different workflows. And before the project started, I prepared like a list of different workflows of how to use AI and TouchDesigner together to create dome visuals. And yeah, this is what I'm going to go through now. So the first and probably the most simple workflow was to do 360 AI images in Midjourney, which are not as correct, but then to do an infinite zoom with them. So basically tell Midjourney, okay, zoom out of my image, and then you could composite all of the images to just zoom through all of them. I think also Yasha Süß did a great tutorial on that one, in case you might want to look into it. Another thing we did was to create AI-generated depth maps and point clouds. So yeah, using AI to generate depth maps and then to get some, yeah, actually pretty random, as you see in this image, to get some pretty random point clouds. But it was AI what the client in this case wanted. What we also used, of course, because it was very booming at the time, was Stream Diffusion by .simulate. The thing is that, as you might have noticed, Stream Diffusion doesn't give you like 4K on 4K resolutions, so we had to scale it up. We used Topaz for this. Yeah. Another workflow, which was a little bit more advanced, was to create 3D geometry in Blender and to render it like in the correct fisheye way, and then to later on stylize the actual rendered footage with AI. So in this case, you can imagine the fishes being below, like they were not shaded at all, and then we had, I think this was also Stream Diffusion, pretty sure, stylizing the fish to yeah, look the way they looked in the end. Another workflow we did was this using a 360 degrees cam and then just stylizing it in TouchDesigner. So yeah, we had one group of students who were like, they went to the woods and filmed stuff and then put it to TouchDesigner. And they remixed it like very strongly, and they also used EBSynth, which is like an AI-based tool to also stylize video content. Yeah, so this was their approach. And then what we also had was NVIDIA Flex, which is like not AI, but which still was very cool. So yeah, I was happy to take it in. Yeah, so those were the different workflows, I think. Yes. And this is just some outcomes of it. So some of the fisheye images that we used for the live projection in the end. So now I have a short video prepared, but this is not my computer, so maybe I might need some time to switch it. I won't, because of it's the good old Windows movie player. Yeah, so this is like around 2 minutes of footage from the final concerts in the end. There is no sound because I'm not allowed to show it, so just imagine some very, very great pop music in the background. Yeah. Okay, so first time seeing, okay. Thank you. So now we saw some dome content in a dome, which is quite weird. I think this one? All right, so hopefully I wasn't the only one who learned something from this project. But I did, and I brought this notes about teaching, which I did afterwards to, to kind of put down what I think I found out about teaching people. So the first thing I noted down was that having a project makes people learn better. So in case you learn something new, you always need a goal, or you need a reason why you are learning it. So some people are good at finding their own reason why they should learn it, but some people, you need to give them a reason, or you need to give them a goal to work for. Another thing I noticed, especially at design universities, that some people are a little bit scared of tech in general, but I think TouchDesigner is the greatest tool to take it away, because people will find out pretty soon that if you do the first steps, and that if you push through the first hard steps, then you can have a lot of fun, and it can still be very intuitive. Another thing, which is quite obvious but still needs to go in this list, I think, is that students need motivations. So it's very important to understand where people are coming from, and where they are trying to go to. Because if you don't know what they want or where they come from, it's very hard to get them coming to your classes and to get them to actually follow and do the stuff they should do there. So it's very important to motivate the people. Another thing I noticed, especially with design universities, is that teaching designers means that everybody has like a very diverse creative background. So you might get people who only did photography in their life, and then now they are supposed to learn TouchDesigner, or now they are supposed to learn AI stuff. But I think the thing is that it's very important to give them something that makes sense for them. So try to tell them, okay, we are doing this dome show, but you could bring in your editorial design skills, or you could bring in your photography skills, because in the end, all of this are design skills, so all of those skills can be used and are needed in a design project. And the last thing I wanted to note is that what I think is that group dynamic, or like in general, how the vibe in class or how the vibe in the course is very important, because of like I didn't like going to school, and I liked going to university later because I felt like, okay, this is like a place where people come together, where you can get together, discuss your ideas, and where you can be yourself and be open. So I think it's very important to create this kind of an atmosphere in classes, so everybody can bring themselves in. So much about that. I hope that might help you at some point. And another thing I just noted down is how to start beginner workshops, or at least how do I start my beginner workshops. So I always start with, what is TouchDesigner actually? So what can you do with it? And then I start with the general stuff, so the interface, what is node-based programming, what does real-time actually mean, and what can it give to you? And then I usually start with very simple projects where people should create something they can already create somewhere else. So in the design context, this is mostly like, for example, create a poster. Every one of them can create a poster in InDesign or Illustrator, or in, I don't know, maybe in Paint, I don't mind. But they can create posters, so then they should bring this into TouchDesigner to start doing what they are used to do, but do it like in a new environment. And the next step is then usually jobs, so animating stuff, making it interactive. And this is usually the point where people start to be interested, because if they see, okay, now I use my mouse to do something and now something happens. And this is, a lot of times, this is the part where people are getting into it. And then what I also do, but usually I do it like quite short, I give a quick introduction into some SOPs, so some little easy 3D stuff. And then also I show some DATs, but only like the very, very basic stuff, like how to get it, how to get a folder with different media inputs, and how to select out of it. And then, depending on how long the course is, I almost always have like a practical project, because of, as I said, I think it's always important to have something, to have a project where you can use the stuff you're learning. And yeah, this is usually a design project realized within TouchDesigner. All right. So, this was my talk until now. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Oops, sorry. Lukas, thank you so much for this, basically life story. Coming. I think it's very nice what you said about the work with students. I remember that we met when we had the last event like this in the dome, and there were all these students from you coming. They were all like really shy at the entrance, and like, "Hi, our teacher has sent us."
Yeah, only shy in the beginning.
Yeah.
Then not anymore.
I remember that. Do we have any questions for Lukas?
I think
there.
there's one.
I see some waving back there. Let's find the shortest path.
Lukas, thanks so much for the talk. I have a question regarding the teaching. So I saw that, I saw the project also live, the planetarium thing, that it was also done in groups with the students, right?
In what?
It was done, students did it in groups.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips, like how you facilitate collaborations between people and any things you think are important in that?
So this is a good question in general. I think in this project it was especially important how the groups were working because of it was like a really tight schedule, and it wasn't like in a regular university project where you could also just have no outcome and everything is fine. So in this case, usually I leave it quite open to people if they want to work in groups and how they want to form these groups. What I did in this course was that I told people, okay, you need to go into the group with this person and this person and this person, which is something which I also at the time I felt like, okay, this is really, this is a really risky step to do, but I felt like I somehow had to balance people, because if you get a class, you always have like the lower 30% and the upper 30% and the people in the middle, so it's always, you always have like a very different skill range. And I think if it's important what the outcome of the project is, then it really makes sense to match people with each other based on their skills. If not, I feel like giving as much freedom as possible, because of this is what I usually try, because of, I think in general, people can be more creative when they are free to do what they want. And I'm also a lot about, trying to empower people to do what they want, because if not every student has the energy to say, okay, I'm doing this my way now. So I think it's always very important to give that, and to give that possibility to say, okay, I want to work alone, or I want to work with my best friend, or whatever. So in general, I would say let it open, let them do it however they like. But if you will need a certain outcome, then it might make sense to intentionally pair people with higher and lower skill together. Yeah.
Hey Lukas, great talk. Just on the question of like using AI to teach people, and especially students who are, you're saying they mightn't be so technically versed. Did you find that, and this comes up in like teaching in general, what I hear about AI, that sometimes students use AI as a cop-out, so like they might use it to generate their essay, and they didn't actually read the text they were meant to read, so they just auto-generated it. So did you find that in this kind of a scenario with interactive media that some students might have not learned as much as they could have because they used AI to kind of shortcut the learning, or did you find something else maybe interesting?
Well, the good thing is, I don't know how many people of you tried to use ChatGPT and TouchDesigner together, and I think there has been some recent developments, so you can actually do some stuff now. But I had a lot of situations where people come in class and they are trying to show what they did, and I look at their network and it doesn't make sense at all. And I'm like, hey, okay, how did you get to do this? And they're like, ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT, it told me to put this note here. So the thing is, right now or until now, maybe it's going to be possible very soon, or maybe it's possible now and I don't know. But I didn't notice any students being able to actually use ChatGPT to become better, or at least at this beginner level, to become better and to do stuff they couldn't do without it. So I think TouchDesigner might be a thing where, this is not as much of a problem yet, but it will be for sure. Yeah.
Fair. Thank you.
I think it may cause a bit this issue that you also have with the tutorials. When you teach, the people come and they reproduce a tutorial, but they have no fucking clue what they actually did. So if you then ask them, okay, but let's change it like that, or let's do it like, yeah, well, I just followed the recipe.
Yeah.
This will, of course, become much worse if you follow the AI recipe.
Yeah.
But I think they will also understand that, right? Because it's not really empowering if you always end up with something that you have not understood. That wasn't a question. Do we have more questions? There's a question.
Hi, first of all, thank you very much. I am not a touch designer expert, so maybe it's an easy answer for this. But in the project that you did with your students, the live music, did you use the system, the sound system of the planetarium? And if so, how was the signal flow from coming to a live situation to a multi-channel speaker system?
So the thing is, we, in the beginning, I obviously wanted to make it audio reactive because of, I tried to make it always audio reactive because of this is the most fun. But then, first problem is that there's like a lot of latency. So there was like the bands operating on stage and they would send audio signal and then this got piped through all of the 5 planetariums, computers and stuff like this. So there was too much latency basically to do this or to do it in a nice way. So we didn't use any of their audio signals in the end, but what we had in not all of the concerts, but I think in 1 or 2, they were using MIDI controllers and the students were actually trying to push the buttons according to the latency. So to push the button like half a second before the beat comes in, and this way it also worked, but it was like not the way it would be supposed to work in any not student project, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little anecdote to that project, because I was one of those huge agencies they couldn't afford.
Yeah.
And so I'm not really NDA'd, and the thing that struck me most was that this TV production company with this concept, which was ridiculously filled with buzzwords they didn't understand at all, because their reasoning was we need to use AI, of course, because A, it's trendy, but B, that's the only technology that can fill a dome with that huge resolution in real time. And only while discussing with them a bit, I realized now they wanted to say generative. They wanted to say generative can fill this resolution in real time, but they mixed it up. And I still sold it to Arte.
Yeah,
What was my impression? Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was a quite striking experience of incompetence.
Yeah, it was like vocabulary was like a big problem. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but vocabulary was like, yeah. This was the not fun part, but I tried to show the positive sides.
But I thought it was very funny when we talked, and then it turned out, oh yeah, it actually ended up at in your hands.
If you want to know, you can ask me later, and I'm going to say some not so nice things. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you have prepared a bit of that dome experience.
Yeah, we have. You want to see it now, or you want to see it later?
I think I want to see it now. Do you want to see it now?
Okay, so, there it is. The first half, around the first half is Art and Music Verse. The second half is results from a workshop I did in Athens like a month ago. So, yeah, but all of those are student works from my courses. Enjoy, and thank you very much. I'm going to sit down too.
So thank you very much, Lukas, for coming and for bringing this dome content. We can enjoy watching this while the Open Dome Challenge is still kind of open, and you can talk to Peter if you have stuff that you want to show when we're finished watching this reel.